So I'm sure all you guys have heard Antonio Brown wants out of Pittsburgh, and pretty much everyone wants Antonio Brown on their team, but obviously not everyone's going to get Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's going to end up on one team, and in my opinion, it's going to be one of these 6 teams. I'm not going to say these in any particular order because I think all these teams, besides maybe one, they all have an equal chance of getting Brown. Now, let's eliminate everyone from the AFC. If you're a fan from a team in the AFC and you want Antonio Brown, you're not going to get Antonio Brown. The Steelers would never, ever, ever trade Antonio Brown in the AFC. So, fellow Texans fans, I know some of you guys want Antonio Brown for whatever reason. We're not going to get Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is not going to be traded in the AFC. He's going to be traded into a team in the NFC. Because obviously, the Steelers, they don't want to trade Brown to the Patriots. And then, obviously it comes back and bites them. And the you-know-what. So, obviously, they'll trade him to the NFC. But there is one AFC team that does have a chance of having Brown next season. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, there's a chance that a trade can't be made and Antonio Brown has to remain a Steeler. However, the chances of this happening, they're pretty slim to none. I mean, in my opinion, I think Antonio Brown has pretty much burned all the bridges. He's, came out publicly, has talked mess about Big Ben, and he just wants nothing to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, although I do think there's a chance he remains a Steeler, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he will end up on another team. Now, the 5 teams that I do think have a shot at Antonio Brown, and again, no particular order. The Redskins. Now, the Redskins, offensively, they don't have any weapons. Their best receiving weapons are pretty much Jordan Reed, who's always hurt, and Chris Thompson, who's always hurt, the running back. So they pretty much have no receiving options. Their quarterback, Alex Smith, he'll probably miss next season. So the Redskins need to get a quarterback, and they need to get weapons for that quarterback, whether it's a young guy or, some random veteran guy that they pick up in free agency. But the point is, they need a wide receiver, weapons for that quarterback. And to me, Washington makes sense because, honestly, if you think about it from a business standpoint, the Redskins, they're probably not going to sell tickets next season. Because who in the world would want to go watch a team like the Redskins? They ain't got nothing. So, bring in Antonio Brown, one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, after D-Hop, Julio, Michael Thomas, one of the top tier wide receivers in the NFL. Bring him in, you sell tickets. So it makes sense from a business standpoint. From, a football standpoint, obviously, they need a wide receiver. The Steelers, honestly, I don't think the Steelers care what team they trade him to in the NFC. They just want him out of there at that point, get something for him. As far as trade value, I'm not sure how much trade value Brown has. I wouldn't picture it being too high. Like, if you're a Steelers fan and you're expecting a Khalil Mack-like package, then you're going to be very disappointed if the trade does happen. Because in my opinion, at most, Antonio Brown is worth a middle second-round pick. Because of all the bridges he's burned, he's kind of looked at as a diva now. So some teams just don't really want to deal with that. And you also got to consider he's a little bit older. His contract is pretty huge. So, Antonio Brown definitely comes with some baggage. Now, the next team, the Eagles. The Eagles, they don't really need that many receiving weapons, but you already know the Eagles. The Eagles, if they can make a move, they'll make a move. And You know, they're just that team, that aggressive team. I have the Eagles being that kind of surprise team that would make a move. Like, imagine Alshon Jeffrey is your number 2, Antonio Brown is your 1, and Aguilar is your slot receiver. That'd be pretty deadly, and they're obviously going to go with, what's his name, Carson Wentz. So Carson Wentz is going to be loaded with weapons. So next season, there's going to be no excuse for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz should have a good season, and the Eagles, obviously, you know, they didn't win a division last season. The Cowboys won it, so the Eagles need to make some moves to keep up with the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys obviously having Ezekiel Elliott and newly acquired Amari Cooper. So the Eagles and the Cowboys are kind of going to be in an arms race here for like the next few years. But the next team I got on my list, the Arizona Cardinals, similar to the Redskins, they ain't got much. Josh Rosen wasn't really exciting last year. Fitzgerald, he's about to retire. Defensively, yeah, they got some, you know, pieces like Budda Baker, Pat Pete, and Chandler Jones, but they're not really that exciting. You bring in Antonio Brown, you give those fans something to go watch, you give your young quarterback a weapon that he can utilize legitly on the outside or, you know, on the slot, although they have been using Fitzgerald in the slot. Obviously, you got 2 veteran receivers. They've pretty much been there, done that. They know what they're doing. And get some more talent around Josh Rosen. He could really use it. And the next team I really like this one. The Carolina Panthers. Why? Carolina is, in my opinion, it's pretty much just Cam Newton. Defensively, yeah, they have some great pieces on the defensive front, but offensively, it's just Cam and Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's their running back. He's their best receiver. Of course, you got Greg Olsen, but the guy hasn't been healthy the past few years. So, the Panthers, they need a weapon, an explosive weapon, a guy who Cam can rely on, so Cam don't have to be running around doing all these crazy things, taking all these hits, because as you guys know, Cam Newton, he has a pretty bad shoulder injury right now, and there's been rumors that they might sit him out for the year, and it's just an all-around bad situation over there in Carolina with Cam Newton. You know, he needs better protection, he needs to protect himself better, but most of all, in my opinion, I think he needs guys that he can trust, guys that he can throw to, because I mean, seriously, who are his receivers? McCaffrey's his best receiver. They need more than just McCaffrey. They need Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown would do wonders for the Panthers. I think if the Panthers were to get Antonio Brown and Cam Newton were to be healthy next season, I really do think that the Panthers would be able to challenge the Saints for the division. I don't think the Falcons are a threat. I don't think the Buccaneers are a threat, although I do think both teams will be significantly better next season. But I don't see either of those teams being a threat to the Saints. Now, if the Panthers get Antonio Brown and Cam is healthy and good to go, then, you know, we might have another powerhouse in the NFC. You know, you'll have the Rams, you'll have the Saints, you'll probably have the Eagles, the Cowboys. They're going to be pretty good for a while. You'll probably have the Packers coming back with Aaron Rodgers. And then, you know, you add in the Panthers to that group. And you can even throw in Chicago. I think they're pretty good too. I don't know how long they'll be good because Trubisky is a little bit questionable. But, again, Carolina could really compete in the NFC if they were to get a legitimate receiving threat for Cam. And the last team on my list is the San Francisco 49ers. I'm pretty sure you guys knew this team was going to be on my list. I mean, if you don't follow Brown on social media, then you probably didn't know. But if you do follow him, then you know that the Niners players have been flirting with Antonio Brown on social media. And he's been flirting back. And even Jerry Rice has, you know, gotten into all that. So, yeah, I think if the trade does happen, I do think he ends up in San Francisco. Antonio Brown pretty much already said he wanted to be in San Francisco. You know, he had a photo of him photoshopped in a Niners uniform. So, Yeah, I think that's where he's going. And I mean, it makes sense. They have a young quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, who I do think that they still believe in, even though he's, suffered some injuries. But that makes sense. They have some pretty good running backs in Breda and McKinnon, even though I do think Breda's a better back, but they still have some good backs. They got George Kittle, one of the better tight ends in the league. They have another decent weapon in Goodwin. Add Antonio Brown to that. Like, they'll be pretty good to go on offense for, the next few years. They'll just need to work a little bit on their secondary, and, you never know. Maybe the Niners can also be one of those powerhouse teams. Who knows? But that's all I have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.